Welcome back to the Chris Learning Aptos series, and this is the second video of us building a full stack to-do list application on the Aptos blockchain. Now, in the first video, we created this to-do list.move module that defines the to-do list application, the smart contract. So it has three functions. You can create the list, an empty list, and then you can add tasks to that list with this create task function. And then there's a complete task function that completes the task and erases the to-do from the list. And then we wrote these tests to test that all of our functions work as expected. Well, today we are going to set up the front end for this application. So like I said, this is an end-to-end full stack application tutorial. So by the end of this mini series, you will have built a complete application with a working smart contract deployed on the Aptos blockchain and a front end where users can interact with your application. And today we're going to set up that front end and build a little bit of that front end. If you haven't watched the first video, definitely go watch it and build your to-do list application, the smart contract, so that you can follow along in this second video as well. All right, let's dive right in. So set up the front end. This is the second chapter of the tutorial, building an end-to-end dApp on Aptos, where you have already created a smart contract and are now setting up the front end. That's right. So to set up the front end, create-aptos-dapp has already created the front end for us with the basic layout and wallet implementation using the Aptos Wallet Adapter Library. Now, this Aptos Wallet Adapter Library is a library that you use to easily integrate Aptos wallets into your application. So it's like a React component that you can just plug in. You don't need to define or write the entire thing yourself. You can just use it right out of the box. Okay, so the first thing it's telling me to run npm run dev, and this is going to probably run a local development server. Here it says it should be running on localhost 5173. And so it's going to launch a local development server so I can test it and play around with it. Okay, cool, let's do that. So I'm here in my terminal. You can see that this whole thing was generated by create-aptos-dapp, if you remember the first video. And we have this front-end folder. Now, in the first video, we worked with the contract folder where we wrote this to-do list.move file. But today, we're going to work with the front-end folder. So it told me to run npm run dev. Let's try that. Beautiful. Okay, so that launched a local server and is hosting my front end and localhost. Cool. So at this point, you should have your app running, which displays the default template layout. In the front end directory, find all the front end files. Let's clean it up a bit. Open the app.tsx file and update its content to be this right here. Okay, so we're like cleaning up and coming up with this empty slate. All right, so I copy it over. Gonna go to app.tsx. There it is. And this right here is basically defining this page over here, the boilerplate template. But I gotta get rid of everything. Copy this in, save that. And let's try refreshing. And there we go. My app goes here. Okay, so we have updated our front end. Once you save the changes, you got the app content has changed in the browser and displays my app goes here. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. All right, our dApp UI. First, we will build the dApp UI layout. We have two UI states for the app when an account hasn't created a list yet on the left. So this is the first UI. And when an account has created a list and can now add tasks to it, which would look something like on the right. Very simple. Cool. We now have a working client with the wallet connect button and a wallet selector model. Modal. We now have a working client and a wallet connect button and a wallet selector modal. Feel free to play with it and connect a wallet with it. Okay, so I guess the wallet connection part just works. Let's connect the wallet. So this modal right here is predefined in the wallet adapter library. So I didn't have to write any code for this. If we go back to our code, we are importing in this top banner component. And it's being populated over here. And I'm curious, I want to see what it looks like. So let's go to the top banner file. And Oh, I don't think this is it. Okay, let's go back. Header. It's probably in the header component then. There we go. So this is importing in the wallet selector. And we're using that component over here. And that wallet selector component is defined over here. And you can see that we're importing in the wallet adapter React and has this component predefined. So this just comes with the create-aptos-dapp template. So I don't need to change all of this. Obviously, if you want to customize it to your liking, you can change this file right here. But very cool. Let's try connecting with the Google account. Now, I guess you have other wallet options as well, like Petra, OKX wallet. So you can use these as well. I'm now in incognito mode, so I don't have any of these extensions installed. So I'm just going to log in with Google. So let me just come back real quick after logging into my Google account. Okay, so I just logged into my Google account, and now this modal is showing me Aptos Connect with a connection request page, and this is connecting my main account. So Aptos Connect is a tool, it's a product that Aptos has where you can sign in and create an Aptos wallet using your Google account. So this is the account that was automatically generated through my Google account. So I'm just going to hit approve, and you can see that my wallet is now connected to this application. You can check the address here, you can look at the account. So if you click on the account tab here, it will take you to the Aptos Connect page. And you can see that I was using my Aptos Labs email, and it's currently empty. I'm very poor, but this is the account that is connected to my application. Now, obviously, if you don't want to do social sign-ins and you just want to use a wallet that you have, like Petra wallet, you can just go to more wallets, install Petra as an extension, and you can log in with your Petra wallet as well. But for this video, I'm just going to use my Google account. All right, so let's connect back into the account. Very cool. So it works. Okay, so that's it for the second guide for this tutorial. So in chapter 3, we're going to learn how to fetch data from chain. I see. Okay, so I guess this is where we're going to learn how to get the data from on-chain and kind of populate that at our front end. Fetch data from chain. In the third chapter of the tutorial on building an end-to-end dApp on Aptos, you'll be learning to fetch data from chain. Our UI logic relies on whether the connected account has created a to-do list. Right, we need to create the list before we add the task. If the account has created a to-do list, our app should display that list. If not, the app should display a button offering the option to create a new list. Straightforward. For that, we first need to check if the connected account has a to-do list resource. In our smart contract, whenever someone creates a to-do list, we create and assign a to-do list resource to their account. Right. If you go back to our contract code here, when we create the list, there we go. When we create the list, we create the to-do list struct with an empty table of tasks and the task event handler and the task counter, and then we move that struct into the account to make it into a resource. So that's what the guide is talking about. So to fetch data from chain, we can use the Aptos TypeScript SDK. The SDK provides classes and functions for us to easily interact and query the Aptos chain. So the Aptos TS SDK is basically like the tool that you want to use when you're building your front end. This is where you write code to query the blockchain, to send transactions to the blockchain, basically any blockchain interaction you do with the TypeScript SDK. So I guess this link is going to take me to the SDK overview, and you can take a look at how the SDK works and all stuff. So I'm not going to go to read that right now, but definitely feel free to do so. Okay, to get started, stop the local server if running and import wallet from the Wallet Adapter React provider. Okay, where do I import this? I assume I import this in app.tsx. Okay, so open my terminal, stop the server, there we go. And it wants me to import the wallet adapter, so I'm going to copy that. Let's go to app.tsx, And let's copy that over. Extract the account object from the wallet adapter. Okay, so I need to use the useWallet function that we import in, and we want to be setting that to account. We want to extract account from useWallet function. And the account object is null if there is no account connected. When an account is connected, the account object holds the account information, including the account address. Okay, that's cool. Next, we want to fetch the account's to-do list resource. Begin by importing in useEffect by using import useEffect from React. Let's add a useEffect hook to our file that would call a function to fetch the resource whenever our account address changes. I see. Okay, let's copy that over. I also need to import in, okay, useEffect. I need to import in the useEffect as well at the top. Import it over here. Cool. And we have this function called fetchList. We haven't defined this yet. Okay. Cool. So before creating our fetchList function, let's also create a local state to store whether the account has a list. Okay, so we have a Boolean useState local state. So I'm going to do that. I also need to import in useState. So it says also import useState. Okay, I did that. Import module address variable using import module address from constant. This is the address of the module we published in the previous chapter. Okay, so let's import that in. And it says that it's importing in from this constants file. So if I go to constants, let's see. So the module address is importing in from the env file, and it's importing in the module address. So if you go to the .env file, again, don't show this to people. This is just for educational purpose. But you can see that our published module address is defined over here. Now, it's been 1 week since I've done my first video, and it went over the weekend, and there might have been a DevNet reset. So on Aptos, I'm doing everything on DevNet, which is a development network. And DevNet is great for quick testing and stuff, but it resets the state every week. So this published module may not be published anymore. So I'm just going to publish the module just once more. So I'm going to go into the contract folder, and I believe the command was npm run move : publish. That's going to run the publish script. Do you want to publish this package at object? Yes. Getting an error. Max guest unit below in transaction. I see. This might be because my account is no longer funded. So I'm going to have to fund my wallet. All right, so we try to republish the to-do list module because the DevNet has reset, but the publisher account that create-aptos-dapp has set for us no longer has apt. So I tried to fund that with the Aptos CLI, but it's telling me that it needs the config.yaml file in the .aptos folder. So create-aptos-dapp doesn't create that for me. It just sets the default address when you initialize the template. But it seems like I'm going to have to run aptos init, create that .aptos folder, and reset the default account that we're going to be using. So let's try doing that. So I'm going to let me go to the root directory and do aptos init. That's going to ask me network, defaults to DevNet, perfect. If I just press enter, it's going to generate a new key for me. And there we go. Now I have a new account. Now, I am curious though. Let me try Aptos init again, because we do have that account there, right? So if I do Aptos init, yes, I want to change the config is DevNet. And let's try feeding in this address. Oh, actually, it wants the private key. Okay, so Let me take the private key. Perfect. Paste that in. And did that fund my account? I believe so. Funded. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so I actually don't have to change the default account here. I just need to run aptos init, paste in the private key that create-aptos-dapp has given to me, and now everything should be perfect. Now I do have this YAML file created, which has the same account listed there. Okay. I think it's fine to leave it here, but I guess we'll see. Cool. So now let's try publishing our module. So to do that, I need to do npm run move :publish. Let's see if it works now. Okay, yes. There we go. Range of octets. Yes, I want to do that. Beautiful. My code was successfully deployed at this address, and did that update my .env? Let's see. And it did. 1EFA, 1EFA. Perfect. All right, now we're back to the default state. Great. If you're watching this video like back to back, you don't have to worry about this whole part, but if you have slacked off like me and are continue on with this video after a week, after the DevNet has reset it, you want to do this again, fund your default account, and republish your module. Perfect. All right, now we can go back to our original guide. And let's go back. Yes, it wanted me to import the constants. I see, that's why we ended up doing this. Okay, we imported the constants, which is pulling in from the .env file. Perfect. Import Aptos client using this code. This is a client create-aptos-dapp created for us to interact with the chain. Okay, let's import that into app.txs. And let's just see what the create-aptos-dapp has created for us. So it's inside of the utils folder, Aptos client. Okay, it's fairly simple code. So it's pulling in Aptos API key, and the network from constant is using the Aptos config and the Aptos class from the TypeScript SDK, is creating a new Aptos client, and is passing in the Aptos config, and this Aptos config takes in the Aptos settings. And this Aptos settings, where is it? That's not what I want. If I go into definition, wait, no. Oh, there we go. Oh, the Aptos setting is an optional field, but it seems like we're passing it in here, and it takes in the network, client config. I see all of these are optional fields, by the way. It also gives me an example. Okay, so I need to create a curly bracket and pass in all these optional settings. So I'm setting the network to the network constant, which is DevNet, and the API key that's inside of our constants. Did I set an API key here? It's pulling it from the .env. Let's see. .env. API key is empty. Okay, so I don't have an API key set up right now. The guide should ideally be updated to set an API key for your project, because right now, when you don't have an API key for your project, when you're interacting with the Aptos blockchain using Geomi's RPC API, which is the default API that you're going to be using when you're using your TypeScript SDK. Now you can change it to use other providers, but it's default to Geomi. And when you don't have an API key set, Geomi considers that as an anonymous transaction, and it has a very low rate limit. So you're going to run into rate limit real quick if you don't have this API key set up. Now, let's see if we're going to run into this in this video. And if we do, I may actually just show you guys getting that API key from Geomi. But let's just continue on for now on, since the guide doesn't mention that yet. Cool. Okay. So that's what the Aptos client file is doing, is just using the Aptos config to create the Aptos client, set it into the Aptos variable, and we're exporting that as a function where it returns the Aptos client. Perfect. All right, let's go back. Next up, our useEffect hook is calling a fetch list function. Let's create that function. All right, so we have this code snippet. Let's copy that over, and let's just put that under this useEffect. Perfect. And just indent it properly. Nice. The Aptos client.getAccount resource expects an account address that holds the resource we are looking for and a string representation of an on-chain move struct type. Okay. The account address is the current connected account, and we're getting that from the wallet account object. Remember, we're getting the account object using the useWallet function we imported in from the wallet connector. And this is the connected account, right? It has all the account information, like the account address. So we're going to pull from that. And the second value, which is the move struct type string syntax, the account address which consists of the account address who holds the move module, right? The module name the resource lives in, which is to-do list, and the resource name, which is equals to-do list. That's why we have this $sign module address. So this is using the module address variable here, which we pulled in from the constants file. Remember that. And so that's the object address that this module is deployed to, right? And we are interacting with the to-do list module, and we are accessing this to-do list struct. Perfect. If the request succeeds and there is a resource for that account, we want to set our local state to true at the Boolean value, the useState value. Otherwise, we will set it to false. Okay, let's just quickly look at the code and see what's happening here. So we have a useEffect that's checking whenever the account address changes. So this is going to happen when you connect your wallet. And every time that happens, it's going to call the fetch list function. And the fetch list function is an async function where if the account doesn't exist, so there's no wallet connected to your application, then it's going to return an empty list. Now, we're going to set the module address constant with the module address constant that we import in from the constants file. Then we're going to try to get the account resource. Remember, the to-do list is a resource that lives under an account. And it takes in this curly bracket where it takes in the account address and the resource type. And we talked over that through the guide. Now, if this is successful, then we're going to set account has list to true. But if this fails, we're going to catch that error, and we're going to set the account has list to false. Cool. Let's go back. Okay. Let's update our UI based on the account has list state. Nice. So we have this code here. I'm just going to copy it over. Should copy the whole thing and replace this thing. Now, I probably shouldn't remove these top banner and header. So I'm just going to get rid of that and paste this in. I don't need the tag here. I don't need that tag there. And oh, the code that I copied over had the top banner and header. Okay, so I could just replace the whole thing. Perfect. That looks correct. We now have an add new list button that appears only if the account doesn't have a list. Okay, start the local server with npm run dev. You should see the add new list button. Now I am getting a red error here. Cannot find name button. And it seems like I need to import that component in from the UI. Okay, there's a components, UI, and I see. It has the button component defined here. Okay, the guide should probably mention that. I'll take a note of that and update it later on. Cool, let me save that. Let's do npm run dev and see what happens. Cool, so my account is already connected, and I am seeing this add new list button. Doesn't do anything yet because we haven't assigned it to a function, but beautiful. So this is really showing you that we have successfully fetched the data from on-chain through this fetch list function, right? We're getting this condition here. To display this add new list, I first need to query the blockchain and get the state whether the list has been created already or not. Right, so we got that information with this fetch list function by using the Aptos client, and based on that information, we have set this Boolean value to either true or false. So this really shows you, this is like the first time we have, this is showing interacting with the blockchain and using the on-chain state to do something on the front end, which is super cool. Beautiful. And I believe that's it for guide 3. Great. Next up, let's understand how to create a new list by submitting data to chain. Nice. Now, I think I'm going to end the video here to keep it short. I think the last video was like 80 minutes. I don't want you guys to waste your time and spend too much time watching this video. So I'm going to cut it here. Hopefully you were able to follow along. Let me know in the comments if you have run into any errors or issues. I definitely noticed some things that this guide could improve on, like the button thing. It should probably tell me to import in the button UI. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, and I guess I'll see you in the next one.